How's it going, guys? Chris Edwards here. So, congratulations. You made it through college. You made it through your internship or your student teaching experience, and now you're getting ready to set off on your own.
You did it! Congratulations!
So I know what you're thinking. What am I supposed to do now? It's a good question. So here are 10 tips to help you in your first year of teaching. Number 1, find the most positive, passionate people in the school and befriend them right away. It doesn't matter what the position is, whether it's a bookkeeper or a secretary or a teacher in another department, find those positive people and cling to them. My very first year, my best friends were the bookkeeper and the secretary and the plant operator. If I was having a rough day, or even if I was having a good day, I could always go to them and talk to them, and they would be there to listen to me. But as always, these people who are willing to help you out at the start of your career, make sure you thank them. You can thank them with cards, with candy, donuts, cake,
Chocolate eruption, apple.
any type of food, it doesn't matter. People love food. Just be sure that you thank them. I also found 2 other teachers that were incredibly passionate about what they did. Being around them allowed me to feed off of that energy and become a better teacher myself. And now those 2 teachers are 2 of my best friends. And stay away from those Debbie Downers and those complainers. They'll just bring you down with them. And you'll run the risk of becoming a cynic yourself. And you don't need that as a teacher. The job is tough enough. Number 2, find the master teachers in your school and pick their brains. In your first year, you're gonna have an idea of what you want to happen in your classroom, but when reality sets in, you may not be able to do that. So find those master teachers who have been in your school for a long time, who understand the school environment, and ask them how they manage their classroom and adapt that to your teaching style. And speaking of teaching style, tip number 3 is find your own teaching style. One of the most common mistakes that I see with first year teachers is they try to be exactly like their cooperating teacher that they had during their internship or student teacher experience. They saw that that type of teaching style worked, and it did work because that teacher had been with those kids for a long time and they had already developed their own teaching style. When you get to a different school with a different set of kids, that teaching style may not be as effective. Sorry to tell you, it just doesn't always translate. And plus, when you're on your own and you don't have a cooperating teacher in that room breathing down the necks of the kids, making sure they're not acting like fools, it's a whole different ballgame. That was a tough lesson for me to learn, a really tough lesson for me to learn. You cannot be anybody but yourself. I tried to convince myself my first year that I had to be exactly like my cooperating teachers. I bombed. I just wasn't very good. The kids saw through that. They saw that I wasn't being true to myself, and they didn't really get a sense that I was a genuine person. And it wasn't until about 3/4 of the year that I let go of that and started becoming true to myself. The kids noticed a more genuine side of me, and I started getting the results I was looking for. Your teaching style should directly mirror who you are. If you're a goofball, be a goofball. Make sure you maintain good classroom management, but be a goof. If you're quiet and reserved, be quiet and reserved. Whatever your personality is, make that your teaching style. The kids will adapt. Don't change your personality into becoming something that you're not, because kids will notice that, and it is much harder to put on a facade your entire career than it is for you to just be yourself and have the kids adjust to you. And they will. Number 4, create an environment of positivity, culture, team, and family. You may very well be the only adult that is positive and encouraging in your student's life. Your room may be the only space in which your students feel safe, secure, loved, wanted, and a part of something special. Create that environment immediately. You just have to. I didn't really discover this until year 2. I wish I could go back to year 1 and do it. And once I figured it out, things really took off. When I taught middle school, my first 2 days were spent entirely on team building, getting to know you, and positive self-worth activities. I did this so I could build up that positive environment. These are the 2 books I used. I used 104 Activities That Build. I have this link down in the description. Find it. Really great book. And as you can see, I have specific ones highlighted and tabbed here because they're terrific activities. There's a lot in here that you could use. The other one I used was Great Group Games. It's a great book. Again, I didn't use everything in here, but there were a whole lot in this book that I was able to use. Really good stuff. Once my students found out that I cared about them and I cared about who they were, they started to care about each other and they started to feel much more safe in my room. Listen, once that happens, the learning will begin. Environment first, positivity first, the learning will follow. Some teachers will tell you that you don't have time to do stuff like that. It's just not true. It's a lie. You cannot afford to not do this. Every master teacher I know has done this, and every master teacher I know subscribes to this and says that it works. And of course, this all correlates to classroom management, which is tip number 5. Have classroom management. Students will be less likely to act up and engage in craziness and tomfoolery if they know that 1, you care about them, 2, they know that they can make a mistake in your room and not get made fun of for it or get put down, and 3, that they have a history of success in your classroom. It's important that you celebrate every little victory for the entire class. If you're teaching a concept and it seems like it's taking a while for them to catch on and they finally get it, celebrate that success. When I was teaching middle school, I would run around the room and slap high fives. I did the high five round. That's just what I did, but that's just me. You know, a thumbs up, something like that, a smile, just telling them how proud of them you are goes a long way to building up that positive, safe environment for your classroom. Now keep in mind there are some kids who won't respond positively to outward praise, so just a little smile, maybe a note on an assignment that they turned in, or just a little thumbs up or a nod will go a long way for those kids who are a little more introverted and don't want outward praise to be bestowed upon them. But make sure you're praising all of your kids in some way. It helps the success of the classroom as a whole, and it makes them feel safe and positive, and more importantly, it makes them feel wanted and special. Now this next one was really, really hard for me. It's about maintaining your consequences. Be consistent with your consequences. You will not have a perfect class, and you're gonna have some really, really rough days. And there'll be days that you're gonna have to deal with a lot of shenanigans. But be consistent with your consequences. You just have to. Even if you really, really like the kid or that kid that's your favorite, and yes, as a teacher, you will have favorites. We all do. Every teacher has a favorite student or two. They just do. But even if those favorite students mess up, they need to have the same consequences as the rest of the class. If you don't, you will lose all credibility with your students, and all that time you put in to create a positive environment, it'll be flushed away. Now you have to make sure you have processes too, and have processes for every little thing, starting on day 1, how they enter the room, where they need to put their things, how to take attendance, how to begin class, how to get the materials that they need that day. Go over it with them and practice it with them over and over again until it is smooth. Processes are important. Without processes, you will not know where to go next. Your students won't know what's going to be happening. But the processes that will be put in place in practice will create a much smoother classroom, and it will open up the classroom for more learning. Go over those processes throughout the year, especially after spring break or winter break or Thanksgiving break. Always go over those processes. Tip number 6, be vulnerable sometimes. Let your students see you as human and not some drone. If they see you as human and they see you opening up, they're gonna really, really come to respect you more. You have to make sure you draw a line in the sand. You are not their friend. You're their teacher. And I have to literally tell my kids, listen, y'all, I love you. You're great people, but I'm your teacher. I am not your friend. And at first, when you tell them that, they're like, oh, that's rude. That's rude. But it's not rude. You're just telling them how it is. And trust me when I tell you, they will respect the fact that you're drawing a line, telling them that you're their teacher, not their friend. They already have enough friends. They don't need that. What they need is a stable adult presence and a teacher to help them grow and learn. Tell them about your interests. Tell them about the pets that you have, your spouse, your kids, whatever it is you like to do. Now, I play a game with my kids called Who is Mr. Edwards? And it's just a PowerPoint with multiple choice questions. And they may not know the answers to some of the questions, but they get really, really excited when they're able to guess the answer correctly. It's a fun game, but most importantly, it's a way for them to get to know you and kind of get to see how you are. You can bring those personal references into your lessons to make those lessons a little bit more real life. Hang posters in your room of things that interest you. My kids know that I love Superman because my office wall is just plastered with Superman posters. They also know that I love baseball because I talk about baseball all the time. Believe me, this works. It works. Number 7, don't be afraid to mess up. Let me be honest with you. You will look back on your first year, and actually during your first year, you will probably think to yourself that you are awful. You'll probably think that you're terrible.
I understand nothing.
I know that I thought that they should have been paying the kids and not me. You're just inexperienced. There are a lot of lessons that can only be taught through experience. It's okay. Every teacher has felt overwhelmed and every teacher feels like they're terrible their first year. It's all about gaining experience and learning and adapting to situations that can only come from experience. I'm 7 years in, I'm still learning tough lessons, but believe me when I tell you that your first year is one gigantic, tough lesson. And by the way, it's okay to cry. What did I get myself into? Those positive teachers that you're surrounding yourself with, they will walk you through your first year, and you will have much more confidence going into year 2. Number 8, control what you can control, and the rest, just let it go. There are not a whole lot of things you can control. Your lesson plans you can control, how you present it you can control. You're not able to control what happens to your students before or after school. You can't control whether or not they had breakfast. You can't control whether or not they have lunch. You can't control whether or not they got into an argument with a friend or a family member before school. You have no idea what's going on in their lives outside of school, and those are things you just can't control. But you can control how you approach them and how you teach them and how you show them that you care about them. You also can't control how the school board or the government decides to treat teachers. Sometimes it really stinks being in a profession where you're the punching bag for everything that goes on in the world, but your job is to keep plugging away for the sake of your students. Be the best teacher that you can be so that when they grow up and become taxpayers and voters, they'll be able to look back and say, hey, I had a really positive experience with Mr. and Mrs. So-and-so. It's a really, really important thing. No matter what happens, those things you can't control, you just have to let it go. Number 9, be organized and lesson plan like your life depends on it. Kids know if you don't have a plan and that you're flying by the seat of your pants.
I have part of a plan.
And they will take full advantage of it. Find those master teachers and ask them what it is they have in their teacher toolbox that they can share with you, just in case you have extra time left over in a class period or a time block. And lastly, number 10, go save the world. Be naive, be idealistic. You will have some teachers tell you you can't save every child, and that's absolutely true. They'll tell you to not be so naive. They'll tell you that you shouldn't be so idealistic, but don't listen to them. Don't let other people's cynicism keep you from trying to do good in this world. You're not going to save every kid. Just know that going into it. And there's going to be times where you're going to be working really, really hard on the kid, and they're going to do something really, really foolish, and it's going to hurt. But there will be a time when the student that you've invested a lot of time into does something great, and that feeling is indescribable. So again, congratulations on the new gig. I hope that you found this video to be helpful. I hope that it calms your nerves in starting your career. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. You can find my info in the description below, along with my blog and my Teachers Pay Teachers page. And if you like the video, or know someone who will like the video, like it, comment, and pass it along. Do you have any tips of your own? Drop them in the comments section. Look, I don't have all the answers. I have 7 years of experience, and I'm constantly messing up. I still get lost day after day. But as long as you're going to learn from your mistakes, and you try not to repeat those mistakes, your career will grow, and you'll be a stellar teacher. Good luck to you, and happy teaching.